thousands of years. Through generations of struggle, the country had lifted 700 million out of penury since 1949. By 2012, China still had nearly 100 million people living under the poverty line, 1/9 of the world's total. 100,000 of China's villages had yet to be connected by paved roads. Some 4,000 villages had no access to electricity. Millions of farmers lived in deplorable conditions. In November 2012, Xi Jinping became China's top leader. He inherited a mission China had striven to achieve for generations: eradicating abject poverty.
The World Bank data shows that the total number of impoverished Chinese declined by nearly 680 million people in the last 3 decades.
China's Communist Party promising to end rural poverty by 2020.
There was just 8 years left for Xi to deliver on the promise of stamping out indigence.
It's a very ambitious program.
Una meta como esta requería crecer, sacar de la pobreza por año alrededor de 10 millones de personas. Cada minuto tenía que sacar 20 pobres de la pobreza extrema.
It's almost mission impossible.
While the entire nation held their breath waiting for his answer, Xi's commitment to this insurmountable task was never in question. He knew what it was like to be hungry.
那时候我才10几岁，到一个叫梁家河的小村子当了农民。我和乡亲们都住在土窑洞里，经常是几个月吃不到1块肉。我很期盼的一件事就是让乡亲们饱餐一顿肉。
From a junior local official to China's top leader, Xi always held dear the wish he had made. Ensuring the rural poor improve their lot has been his motivation all along.
全面建成小康社会，一个也不能少。共同富裕路上，一个也不能掉队。
By the end of 2012, Xi braved the ghastly winter temperatures to visit Luotuan in the northern province of Hebei. Luotuan was one of the country's most underprivileged mountain villages.
1个亿左右的绝对贫困人口，难度还是很大的。就任总书记以后啊，要到扶贫县去，到老百姓家里去，是他自己提的。
来看看这个，
来看看，
要浇上水吗？这个地方？
有浇草地了，有浇不草。
你看他这个衣服还是，这是破了。
俺们我串门给他出来了，人家是说习近平来了，俺们才上过去看人家了，我就穿上他就回老家了。俺们的就种地娃也挣不着个钱来，收入900来块钱。
The meagerness of wealth in Luotuan village was beyond Xi's belief. With tens of thousands of rural families still living in similar condition, he knew there was no time to spare. Reviewing the whole situation, Xi determined that China had entered the most difficult stage of relieving penury, and every household's root cause for destitution need to be found before any precise help. It was during a visit to Shibadong village in Hunan province that he proposed a targeted approach to poverty alleviation.
抓扶贫的时候，切忌喊大口号，实事求是，因地制宜，分类指导，精准扶贫。
In an effort to meticulously tackle impoverishment in various locations, the authorities need to have the full grasp of the real conditions. Therefore, China launched an unprecedented project on compiling a database of every single underprivileged. In 18 months, China had a complete nationwide register of its poor population, the first time in history that an all-encompassing poverty database had been compiled.
Precision poverty targeting is supporting the government in targeting the remaining poor in the last mile.
And I think that is the systematic approach that other parts of the world will require, including my own part, which is Africa.
In November 2015, she led a conference on poverty alleviation and development, the largest of its kind ever held.
中西部22个省的省委书记和省长向中央签署了这个责任书。总书记在会上拿了一本，说这就是军令状，就要兑现我们的这个承诺。
She too had nothing to fall back on. By 2013, some 128,000 villages classed as poor had been included in the nationwide poverty database. She mobilized the entire system to help the rural indigent. While they have made transcendental changes for those in dire need of help, 1,800 of them even lost their lives in the line of duty. To uncover the root causes of underdevelopment and advise on solutions, she pushed on unabated with inspection tours, visiting some of the poorest places in China. These tours have resulted in a variety of poverty reduction approaches designed to be the most effective for specific areas. This is Liangshan, a living metaphor of how difficult it could be for the country to struggle for a poverty-free ideal. It is locked in rough, unforgiving mountain terrain.
媒体报道了凉山州的悬崖村，看到村民和孩子们常年在悬崖上爬藤条，安全得不到保证，看了以后心情还是很沉重的，也很揪心。
The altitude difference from the foot of the mountain to the mountaintop cliff village is nearly 1,000 meters. A precarious vine ladder was once the only way villagers could leave the village.
当时我刚来的时候，全是土坯房，水电不稳定。州委和县委决定在悬崖村这个地方修一条钢梯路。
On February 11th, 2018, she traveled 2,200 kilometers from Beijing to Liangshan to review plans for the relocation communities. 2 years later, all 344 of the Cliff Village's former residents left the village in the clouds, moved down to earth, bidding farewell to their deplorable houses. The villagers moved to brand new apartments. Children resumed their study in bright classrooms without their former unfathomable cliff trail journey to class. Tourism is now a mainstay. The village sees over 100,000 visitors every year, generating momentous income for the locals. Penury is history. Just like the Cliff Village, many fortuneless villages are undergoing momentous changes.
The fact that China has been able to move hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, so this is the most important contribution.
It is difficult to recall or to identify any parallel achievement.
And I think these are major and very credible achievements, and certainly in my own travels.
At the end of 2019, China's rural underprivileged population had reduced to 5.51 million. An end to poverty was within reach. Early 2020, the sudden outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic wreaked havoc on China and the world.
For the first time in 30 years, poverty is rising.
It's totally understandable, possible agenda.
While most people assumed China's goal to lift all its people out of poverty by 2020 would take a back seat, she took a tougher path. In March 2020, she presided over an unusual symposium attended by officials ranging from country leaders to local magistrates.
本来这个会呢定的是3月中旬开，后来总书记说还要提前1个礼拜，在不止 你做工作没有时间了，来不及了。
时间只有300天了，所以必须尽快召开这个会议来进行再部署、再动员。习总书记说这个话的时候，脸上我感觉还是比较凝重的。
2020年财政的收支形势确实较为严峻，总书记明确指出，资金投入是保障，中央财政的专项扶贫资金不降反增，达到了1461亿元，一次性的脱贫攻坚补短板的资金300亿元。
His decision recharged the campaign, and the whole of society played their part. Once again, the have-nots knew that they would not be left behind under any circumstance. Over the past 8 years, more than 9.6 million people suffering from intractable destitution have been relocated from uninhabitable areas. Rural residents no longer have to worry about housing safety. All villages in China are connected to a network of paved roads. Rural clinics and doctors are prevalent. Every rural household is connected to the power grid, and modern appliances are no longer just the property of richer households. 98% of all formerly undeveloped regions have internet access. Rural residents are now connected to the outside world with a brilliant new life to show for it. More than 100,000 countryside schools have been renovated or rebuilt, providing tens of thousands of rural children with a chance to carve an alternative future.
云南省最后9个贫困县，最后一个贫困县西周全省的贫困县全部解决，这意味着全国所有贫困县全部摘帽。
历经8年，现行标准下，近1亿农村贫困人口全部脱贫。
Along the path to zero poverty, she made plans and decisions that have changed the fate of millions of Chinese families. It is a path littered with bumps and holes, but he held on to his original motivation.
人民对美好生活的向往，就是我们的奋斗目标。
China have ended the poverty that plagued the country for thousands of years, but it merely marks another beginning. The beginning of more miracles yet to be worked, and a path toward even brighter outlooks ahead.